You're carrying too much. Maybe you don't even realize it, but I can see it in the way your chest barely rises when you breathe, in the way your shoulders never really drop, in the way your mind races at night, even when nothing is going wrong. It's not that you're weak. It's not that you're broken. You're just exhausted from trying to hold together what was never yours to hold in the first place. We've all been taught that if we just try harder, care more, fix faster, things will fall into place. But sometimes, the more you push, the more life pushes back. So let me ask you something. When was the last time you let yourself just be? No fixing, no chasing, no gripping so tight that your own peace slips through your fingers? The Stoics understood this. They knew that control is a myth, and that real power, the kind that endures, begins the moment you let go. You don't have to carry the whole world to matter in it. You don't need to earn your worth through exhaustion. Right here, right now, take a breath, a real one. Let it fill you. Let it remind you, you are still here. That's enough. Not because everything is perfect, but because you're learning to live without needing it to be. Let me tell you something the world rarely says out loud. Peace doesn't come from control. It comes from letting go. We spend so much of our lives tightening our grip on people, plans, outcomes, thinking if we just hold on tighter, we'll finally feel safe. But safety doesn't live in control. It lives in clarity. And clarity, the Stoics teach us, comes only when we release what was never ours to carry. That argument you keep replaying, that future you're trying to predict, that version of yourself you keep chasing, none of it is happening right now. And yet, it's stealing your presence. The Stoics weren't emotionless. They were disciplined. They believed true strength wasn't found in domination, but in self-mastery. In the ability to remain calm, not because the storm isn't real, but because your soul has learned to stand still inside it. Think of it like a tree in a hurricane. The winds are fierce. The branches may bend, but the roots hold. That's what stillness is. Not inaction, not weakness, but rooted power. And in a world constantly shouting for attention, stillness is a rebellion. It's choosing not to react to every trigger. It's choosing to observe, to breathe, and to respond only when it serves your peace. So maybe it's time to loosen your grip. Because the moment you let go, truly let go, is the moment life finally has room to move through you instead of against you. Epictetus was born a slave. No money, no freedom, no title. And yet he said something that echoes through centuries. Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. But he wasn't talking about escape. He meant inner freedom. The kind that can't be taken from you even in chains. Freedom to breathe in chaos and stay calm. Freedom to feel pain, but not become it. Freedom to rise above the noise and choose how you respond. See, that's what Stoicism is really about. It's not about pretending life doesn't hurt. It's about realizing you're stronger than the hurt. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most powerful emperors in history, wrote in his journal every day, not about ruling an empire, but about ruling himself. He said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." It sounds simple, but think about it. How much of your energy is spent trying to control what you can't? Trying to change people, force outcomes, win approval that may never come? The Stoics didn't waste that energy. They turned inward. They trained their focus on what actually belongs to them. Their thoughts, their choices, their peace. That's the real revolution, not controlling the world, but mastering your response to it. And when you do that, even in the middle of a storm, you're already free. Anxiety doesn't mean you're broken. Overthinking doesn't mean you've failed. And the pressure in your chest, it's not weakness. It's proof that you care, that you're alive. You feel deeply, and that's not something to be ashamed of. But here's the hard truth. Caring doesn't have to mean carrying everything. Somewhere along the way, we were taught that to be strong, we have to suffer. To be valuable, we have to be exhausted. To prove our worth by holding up the whole world. But that's not living. That's surviving. And even the Stoics, often misunderstood as emotionless, didn't numb themselves. They transformed emotion into wisdom. They didn't suppress their fear. They stared it down and said, "You don't control me." So the next time anxiety shows up, don't fight it like an enemy. Sit with it. Listen to what it's trying to say. Then choose your response. Because that's the power you always have. To pause. To breathe. To act from clarity instead of panic. Being alive doesn't mean burning out. You don't have to drown in the storm to prove you're strong. True strength is learning how to float. And that starts by knowing you don't need to carry the world to matter in it. Life doesn't wait for you to catch up. It moves with or without your permission. And sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is stop. Stop running. Stop fixing. Stop forcing what no longer fits. Because strength isn't always about holding on. Sometimes, it's about letting go. At the exact moment your fear tells you not to. See, we confuse discipline with pressure. But real discipline? It's trusting the process even when you don't understand it. It's staying still when anxiety begs you to react. It's allowing life to unfold rather than trying to bend it into shape. And I get it. Stillness feels unnatural when you've been trained to hustle, when silence makes you uneasy. But what if that silence isn't empty? What if it's the exact place where peace has been waiting for you? The Stoics understood this. They believed that clarity lives in the pause, not in the noise, not in the urgency, but in the moment you choose not to flinch. So ask yourself, can you sit with the unknown without trying to solve it? Can you breathe without needing an answer? Because the art of surrender isn't weakness, it's wisdom. And the moment you trust the flow of life, that's when it starts trusting you back. Let me ask you something. Has control ever really given you peace? I don't mean temporary relief, I mean lasting peace. The truth is, control feels safe. It gives us the illusion that we're in charge. But underneath that illusion is fear. Fear that if we loosen our grip, everything will fall apart. And yet the tighter we hold, the more anxious we become. Because life was never meant to be controlled. It was meant to be lived. Picture this. You're standing in the middle of a river. The current is strong. If you fight it, digging your heels in, tensing every muscle, you'll only get dragged. But if you surrender to it, if you allow the flow to guide you, you don't drown. You move forward. That's not weakness. That's wisdom. The Stoics knew that impermanence is part of the deal. Nothing lasts forever, not the pain, not the joy, not even the struggle. And when we resist that truth, we suffer. But when we align with it, we find peace in motion. You don't have to map out every turn. You just have to stop fighting the current. Because life, when trusted, doesn't destroy you. It carries you exactly where you're meant to go. One of the hardest but most freeing lessons in life is this. Not everything is yours to carry. The Stoics mastered this truth. They didn't try to control everything. They didn't waste their energy changing people's minds or chasing approval. They focused on one thing, themselves, their thoughts, their actions, their response to life no matter how unfair or chaotic it got. And that's the balance we often miss today. We pour so much energy into what others think, how they act, how life should go. But the truth? That's not your lane. You don't control the storm, but you do control your anchor. So ask yourself, what if you stopped trying to fix the world and started mastering your mindset? What if, instead of forcing outcomes, you sharpened your response to them? That's where real strength lives. Not in controlling the uncontrollable, but in showing up calm, clear, and grounded no matter what happens. The Stoics weren't passive. They were powerful because they knew the secret wasn't to rule everything, but to rule themselves. So the next time life feels out of control, don't reach outward. Turn inward, because your peace, your power, it was never out there to begin with. It's been within you this whole time. You've spent so much of your life trying to get life to listen. But maybe the invitation was always to listen to life instead, to notice its rhythm, to trust its pauses, to realize that silence isn't the absence of meaning. It's where truth begins to whisper. Here's the truth most people won't say out loud. There is no absolute certainty, no perfect plan, no guaranteed safety net. But that doesn't mean you're lost. It just means you're human. And real strength? It's walking forward anyway with fear, with doubt, and without a promise that it'll all work out. The Stoics didn't wait for the world to become easier. They became stronger. They didn't avoid pain. They used it, turned it into clarity, into character, into fuel. Because peace isn't something you earn from the world. It's something you decide to claim from within. So if you've been feeling behind, if you've been thinking you're broken or off course, you're not. You're in motion. You're becoming. And sometimes the most radical act you can take is a single breath. A breath that says, I'm still here. I haven't given up. Not because everything's fixed, but because you finally decided to live on purpose.